Hey guys, it's Udaiba here. So I've been actually pretty sick over the last week or so, but now that I don't have a cough interrupting me every 5 seconds or so, I thought it's finally time that I start recording some videos again. And since Rurugia, the Earth Warrior of the Crystals, just dropped in JP earlier today, I thought, you know what? I think I will take a look and go through the unit's skills. I actually have it written down here. I'll show you guys this later. As well as give you guys my perspective of the unit from a high-level guild battle perspective. So I just want to quickly show you guys this. This is my guild battle result screen from yesterday evening. I'm playing in the number 4 ranked guild in JP, and our opponents are the number 5 ranked overall in JP. And actually for the last couple of months, I've mostly been using Earth teams on the fence. So I like to think that I know a thing or two about how good Earth teams are in JP. Now for those of you who are wondering if Light Evasion is still a thing in JP, well, like I said, our opponents are the number 5 overall guild in JP. So as you can see here, Light Evasion is still pretty much something you have to be careful about. But I'll just leave it at that, and let's take a look at the unit Rurugia properly, I guess. Starting with his TMR skill, TMR and TMR skill, I suppose. So his TMR has 318 HP, 12 accuracy, and 12 defense. And the skill it confers is a 2-cast skill that increases for 3 turns, increases the unit's defense, and gives a protect effect for 3 turns. So defense up and protect, just on the unit itself. And you have 2 casts of it, so in guild battle you can use it once in your first attack, and then the second time on your second attack attempt, I suppose. Not too bad of a skill, although I think for most people, probably FF15 Noctis TMR is still probably a better TMR skill if you want the protest effect. I guess in global we call it protect, right? But the good thing about this TMR equipment is that it is a accessory, so I believe pretty much everyone can equip this. So that's the upside of it. Overall, not too bad. It's not something I would pull the unit for, since it's just defense up and protect. But it's not too shabby if you want to, pull for the unit. Now let's take a look at the unit's resistances. And for that we go to the companion unit. Okay, I'm just gonna load up a random quest so that I can select the companion unit. We'll take a look at the stats later, but for resistances, you have 10% on slash and 20% each on missile and magic, and then minus 15% on PS. So overall, it seems like he has pretty good coverage on the attack types front. Although I suppose with 15, or rather with minus 15% on piercing attacks, I guess if Rurugia ever gets within Glaciala's range, he could be in for a bad time, especially with this, 10%, minus 10% on the wind resistance, and then another 25% on the wind versus, or rather the earth versus wind elemental disadvantage. Now for the status ailments, he's got 50% resist on frostbite as well as stop, and 10% on doom. We can ignore the 25% here because this 25% blind resist actually comes from Odin, right over here. So basically, for the most part, for status ailments, he has frostbite resist and storm resist, which is overall not too bad. Let's take a look at the stats. So if we compare Rurugia to Alaya over here, you can see that for the most part, the speed is about the same, HP is about the same. Rurugia does have overall more attack power than Alaya over here. But one thing we have to take note is that Alaya does have actually defense penetration on the unit through a passive, whereas Rurugia as a unit, and we'll cover this more in detail later, but Rurugia as a unit does not have any kind of innate defense penetration whatsoever. You do get it as a weapon. You do get 20 from the weapon that I'll show you guys later, but for the most part, if you look at the stats, his dexterity and luck I think is about the same. Dexterity is lower than Alaya's, and then everything else is about the same more or less. So not too shabby for a cost 100 unit. Higher attack power to make up for the fact that he doesn't have defense penetration, and then everything else is about the same, a little bit low on the dexterity side, but overall not too shabby. Alright, next let's take a look at the weapon. I have not actually built it yet, but let's see. We will just quickly run through the passives on the weapon. I believe this is the one. So on +5 it has defense penetration 20, and for Rurugia and 5 units with the gunner or double gunner main job. So I think there are Krayas, Luatha, who else? Lucia, Frederica, and one more guy I'm forgetting. I think Ryu. For those 5 units and the Earth Warrior of the Crystals, you do get 15 critical hit rate up, as well as 15 critical damage up. So I see this weapon as pretty much an upgrade over, you know, the standard gun weapons that we have, because not only do you get 20 defense penetration, but you know, with this much critical on it, if you can reliably get critical hits off, it's going to add up to a lot of damage. Alright, and with that, I think we are ready to take a look at the actual skills of the unit. Alright, so I've switched to Rurugia's ability board so that it's easier for us to take a look at the skills, and also I just thought that, you know, the background over here is a good way for me to display this. So we'll start by taking a look at his passives. There are 6 in total. The first 2 passives are from his exclusive job, and that's one of which will increase his range +2 and give him missile resistance penetration up. So actually this passive actually starts with range +1, and then when you get to EX jobs, right over here, you actually upgrade the range to +2 on it. So at this point, because Wiltif Calc has not been updated yet, I don't know the exact amount of missile resistance penetration up the passive actually gets, but it should be pretty decent, I think. And then the second passive from his exclusive job is a little bit more interesting. It gives you increased AP at the start of battle, as well as accuracy up and move -1. So the move -1 part is just like what's her name? Oh gosh. Alaya the ice sniper cost 100 unit. I keep forgetting her name. So with Alaya, you can equip a passive that will make her move 2 as well. And with Rurugia, you can kind of do the same, except, you know, over here you get increased AP and accuracy instead of defense penetration on Alaya. So kind of a bit of a miss over here. And then the rest of the passives are the typical stuff that you get with Sniper and Dragoon subjobs. With Sniper, you have Missile Attack Up and Luck Up on one passive, and then Range +1 on the other. And then for Dragoon, you have HP Up and Healing Ability Up on one of the passive, and Jump +1 on the other. So I think for the most part, with Rurugia, for the people who pull him, you usually want the 2 job exclusive passives on, for the most part. Although if you need a little bit more range, or if you need you know, more HP and healing, or Jump +1 for certain maps, that's when I think you would switch out the skill here for something else. But I think for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. Most of the time, you just want to have the first 2 on. Now let's take a look at the reaction abilities. So there's 3 of them. The first one is a preemptive counter attack that is exclusive to Rurugia's main job. It has a range of 3 to 4. Let's see if I can, this is the one over here. Range of 1 to 3 to 4. And apart from being a preemptive counter attack, it also has a chance to immobilize the opponent. Although one thing to be wary of is this counter attack skill is similar to Lightning's, in that it is a what do you call it? A missile attack that is a direct shot, meaning if an ally is in the way, this counter attack skill can actually hit your ally instead. So I'm actually a little afraid of putting this skill on. The other 2 choices you have is, I believe, is Dragon Blade, which is number 3 over here. Range 2 straight line counter attack, and it absorbs HP, a portion of the HP damage that you dealt. And then the other one is Counter Smoke. This is the one. So for Counter Smoke, it's a preemptive counter, but it only works for physical attacks versus physical attacks. And what it does is, if successful, it will apply a 3-turn accuracy down on your opponent before the attack lands. So I think most of the time you probably want the preemptive counter attack to be on, unless you think it's a map where one of your allies might get in the way between Rurugia and an enemy, in which case I think Dragon Blade is the safer option to put. The thing that scares me the most is if you go for the preemptive counter, and then let's say like one of your allies, like let's say Queen Marjorie gets shot by the preemptive counter, and then because of that, immobilize happens on Queen Marjorie, and then she gets stuck there and she can't do anything. I think that's the worst scenario that can happen for this unit. And honestly, I kind of wish they gave Rurugia, like, you know, much better reaction abilities, but sadly this is what we have to work with. Alright, next we will take a look at his main sorry, his main abilities on Rurugia, starting with the basic abilities. Or actually, we should probably take a look at his limit burst first. So his limit burst, I'm not sure if I have it written here. Oh, it's not on the ability board, but basically his limit burst is a 3-turn. It will basically buff his attack power for 3 turns for Rurugia, and then does 3 hits of damage L and provide a AP recovery effect for 3 turns. I don't think there's a way to. Well, you can take a look at it from the notices, I suppose. It's pretty good, except that since it's a limit burst, pretty much means that you can only fire it off once. But between the limit burst and his buff effects, I think Rurugia is pretty much a unit that you don't really need bells to function. His other two main buffs are Earth Protection. This is his self buff. I believe this is the one. It's only for himself, and what it does is it will decrease hate -4, and for 3 turns increase the range by 1. Pretty decent, although I think there are some situations where you want to turn it off. The more important buff is his AoE buff. This roughly translates to Earthen Territory. And what it does is, first of all, it's a wide area AoE buff. And it will provide everyone, all the allies in the area, with a regen effect. And then for Rurugia himself, he will gain a 1x 20 AP, and that is on top of, the half of this TP amount. So with this one cast, you'll gain 37 AP, 20 plus 17 from here. And for the next 3 turns, Rurugia also gets defense penetration up. So this is his, I would say this is one of his main source of defense penetration, along with his weapon as well as your Trust Stone. So those two are the main buffs for the unit. And then next we'll take a look at his low AP attack skill. This is called Break Shot, and it is a 3 range attack move. I believe the height range is only 1, but it only costs 14 AP, and this is reduced furthermore by his master ability, which reduces all AP consumption by 20%. So overall, a pretty decent move for just about 10 AP after cost reduction. And what it does is it will give the target missile resistance down first before dealing damage S. So those are the basic abilities. There's more, of course. His bread and butter is coming up next. Oops, I turned off the wrong thing. So after spending the first 1 or 2 turns to buff, and after using up his limit burst, Rurugia's main, bread and butter move is actually this thing called double stone pallets, which I believe is right over here. So this is a 2-hit move that does damage L, and it will also reduce the movement of the target by -1 for 3 turns. And when you upgrade this with EX jobs, you also get protect and shell removal effect. So because it's 2 hits and then you get L damage, and also it has bonus effects on top of that, I think this is the move that the AI will use most of the time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, it's about the same range as the limit burst. I guess if he has his limit burst up, he will use that over this, but once his limit burst is gone, pretty much this is the main move that Rurugia will use. And then the other move, which is an AoE move, is Spread Blast. This one over here. And it's just an AoE attack that does decent damage. But before applying damage M, it will actually debuff the evasion of all targets in the AoE. Next up, we have his level 120 skill. This is a pretty interesting move actually. It's called Ember Bomb, and it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 range single target attack move with height range 2, 3 cost AP 23, which can be reduced further, so roughly 19 to 20 AP per cast. And what it does is, so ignore the Japanese text because it kind of makes things complicated. What it actually does is it will deal damage M, and then after the damage it will follow up with the kind of follow-up attack that Lightning and Noctis has. Except the follow-up attack will only work for this single attack alone. So I don't know if this is, I guess this is pretty much a not an ideal situation. Most of the time you want to have the follow-up effect up for 3 turns so that you can, attack with an AoE skill and do the follow-up attack on multiple targets. But for some reason, Gumi decided that for Rurugia, no, he's not going to get that good of an effect. He will only get this effect for this single attack. It doesn't say here that it's for 3 turns, so it's only for this single attack. So I think their intention is the follow-up attack is supposed to help you deal with targets with courage or re-raise, and it's better than an attack that removes courage or re-raise because this one thing works against both those situations, right? Provided that you're able to actually finish off your opponent. But I guess, there's a good part of it, there's a bad part of it, but overall, I really felt that there's really no need to make this skill, such that the follow-up attack only works on this ability, and you can only use it 3 times as well. So overall, not that great of a level 120 skill, although I think we'll have to see it in practice to see if this is possibly better than we thought. It could definitely be possible, and there may be things about the unit that we don't understand. Now, those are the skills for the main job. Let's take a look now at the sub-job skills, starting with the Earth Crystal Warrior sub-job skills, which is right over here. So there's 3 of them total. They're all grouped around this area. So let's talk about the attack first. This is called Mad Piercer, and it is a 1, 2, 3, 4 attack range, height range 1 single target attack skill that will do damage M, but it's a piercing move, so any enemy targets along this line will actually get hit with the move as well. And it also does 3 turn agility down on the enemy. So this is actually really good for PvE moves such as Guild Raid, because you get to debuff the targets with agility down, and also you can possibly hit multiple targets with it. In PvP situations, I'm not sure if this is the ability that the AI will prioritize over other abilities, but it's not too terrible, I suppose. The other 2 moves that Rurugia has on his sub-job are support skills. So the first one is called, well, it roughly translates to Gust Ammunition, and it is a support skill that will increase the CT up on an ally other than himself. And the CT up amount is just small. So the range here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 range, and then height range 2. But do take note that this support skill can actually have its range increased by, if you have like a range +2 and range +1, you can possibly increase this by 3 more squares. So this can potentially go up to, so right now by default it's 4 range, but it could potentially go up to 7 squares. And similarly for the other support skill, this is a healing skill. is called the Blessings Ammunition, and all it does is HP recovery small to an ally other than Rurugia himself. And again, this move is the same thing. By default, it is a 4 range move, but you can increase it up to 7. So that's it for the Earth Warrior of the Crystal sub-job. Next, we'll take a look at his Sniper and Dragoon sub-job skills. So I'm not going to go into detail every single skill in those sub-jobs, because I think most of the players watching this, for the most part, you should more or less know what all these skills are. They are fairly common on a lot of units. So the thing that stood out to me is for Sniper, he does have Barrier Break Arrow. And then for Dragoon, in JP right now, Dragon Skin actually will cast a Protect effect on Rurugia. So for defense, Dragon Skin is actually not too shabby if you want to put on the Dragoon sub-job for Rurugia. And of course, the advantage with putting Dragoon on as a sub-job is that you have access to an entire category of attacks outside of missile attacks. So all of these, I believe, are pierce attacks. And I think the biggest winner here is horizontal jump and jump. I think horizontal jump is the one that gives you a great bunch of range. So here we go. So, you know, in the event that your opponent has a bunch of missile resistance stacked up against you, Rurugia can still, you know, put on the Dragoon sub-job and still do a great deal of damage with moves like horizontal jump, although it will have some casting activation time. So for the most part, I think, like, if I were to use Rurugia in my Earth team, I think most of the time I will go with the Sniper sub-job just for the barrier break in case I need it. But if, let's say, I have teammates who can already do a good job at breaking barriers, then I think I will go ahead and put on Dragoon just for the potential of, you know, accessing more ways to damage the opponent. His main job, or rather his Earth Warrior of the Crystal sub-job, is not that great, I think, because especially the healing skill, I believe there's something like 20 or 30% only. So, and also, you know, if you're playing auto mode, I don't think the AI will actually use either of these skills unless for some reason Rurugia is in a spot where he cannot attack the enemy and he doesn't have any other good buffs to use on himself. So if you want to equip this sub-job on Rurugia, I think it's mostly for Matt Piercer, which, I mean, just look at that range. I don't think it's worth it. I think you get, you know, much more bang for your buck with either Dragoon or Sniper. Actually, come to think of it, I think most of the time Dragoon will probably be the better choice most of the time. Alright. So finally, to summarize the unit's pros and cons. So of course, later on, so to sum up my early impressions of Rurugia as a unit, honestly, I think as of right now, it's definitely a very easy skip for most of the players in JP, especially with the 3rd anniversary coming up. You know, it's kind of funny that Rurugia's kit doesn't seem all that strong, in a very similar fashion to the way that this time last year, Ranan, the Lightning Warrior of the Crystals, this time last year is when Ranan came out. And again, Ranan was not that great a unit compared to the rest of his Warriors of the Crystals counterparts. So I think maybe, you know, Gumi is kind of, you know, doing this on purpose, trying to make sure that Rurugia is, you know, not too strong a unit so that people can safely skip him and save up for the anniversary. But for now, my impressions of the unit is, as you can see on the screen, it damage-wise and stats-wise, he's pretty decent as a cost 100 sniper. But and also he does have a couple of interesting things on him, like being able to impede movement on the enemy side. He can of course dispel protect shell. He has a barrier break as well as a whole different sub job. If you wanna deal with teams who stack missile resistance against you, and his follow-up attack is kind of interesting still, even though it's kind of weak. But it has to be seen to be believed, but it could potentially reliably deal with both re-raise and courage. But other than those things, honestly, as if you look at the whole package, he is not nearly as good as Alaya, especially since, well, not just because he doesn't have defense penetration innately, right, but also because he doesn't have, oh, I guess the text got cut out here. But basically, Alaya, one of the things that is really strong about Alaya is her frostbite effect, and that can actually change the tide of battle quite a bit. So I actually am going to put up a video, I think tomorrow, to like a sort of should you pull Alaya review video, and in that video I have some footage that I can show you for why Alaya's frostbite ability is so good. But as far as Rurugia is concerned, nothing really stands out, and there's so many things with his kit that just doesn't fully make sense. Okay, I just took a moment there to fix the text on display so that everything is on there now. But yeah, this is pretty much it for this video, and I think some of you guys can probably tell that I have been trying to speak slow in this video, because if I talk too fast, there's a likelihood of me actually coughing into the mic. So hopefully I can fully recover in time for the 3rd anniversary live stream this Friday, because I plan to, as usual, do a live translation stream and tell you guys as much information as I can get out of the live stream. And yeah, this is I think probably for my next video I'm probably going to change the format on how I display the information on a unit's kit as well. So if you have any feedback on that front, definitely do let me know in the comments below. But yeah, that's it for now. If we see any high-level guilds run Rurugia, and if we see any good combinations being used, for sure I'll make another video to tell you guys about it. But I think that's it for now, and yeah, thank you guys for checking out this video, and I hope to see you guys next time.